episodes, because we do this every single week. There's thousands of videos you can find on our YouTube, on our Facebook, or at tampaschool.com/success, because we want to put all this information out there so you could make the right decision for you if you've been thinking about starting a real estate career. And that's what we're talking about today, is if you're planning on using your real estate license to be able to make some money, whether you're looking to do this, kind of part-time and on the side, so that way you've got something else to bank on, something else to work on, almost like a hobby. Imagine if you had a hobby that made you money. You could do that with a real estate license. You can keep doing whatever it is that you're doing during the week or whenever it is that you do it, and whenever it is you have free time, you could work on your real estate license, and not just obtaining the license, but building a real estate business around your real estate license. And this is, again, something that doesn't have to be your full-time job. Now, obviously, you don't make as much money, typically, working part-time as you would full-time, but I mean, if you've got some free times on weekends or evenings, or when people, and right now, with everything being so virtual, it really makes it a lot easier to juggle real estate as a side hustle. Or maybe you're looking to do this full time. Maybe eventually you want to transition to it full time, but maybe you're going to start it out with just a little side hustle, get your feet wet, see how you like it. It's what you make of it. Real estate is extremely flexible. There's tons of brokers out there that have all kinds of different compensation programs and whatnot, but pretty much all these brokerages, you're an independent contractor, meaning you run your own business. You run your own business. You're in charge of how much you work, and the great thing about real estate is you really get, since you are really kind of becoming a business owner in real estate, you really get to reap the rewards of all of your effort going in. So that's just a little bit of a backstory on kind of, what it feels like doing real estate, or what's possible, I should say, for how much you work in real estate. But one of the things we should probably talk about with the real estate license is, what do you need the license for? The license is for brokerage. So what is brokerage? Brokerage means you're not the buyer, you're not the seller, you're the middleman brokering the deal. That's what brokerage refers to. Brokerage means bringing together these two parties, and it might not be owners and renters. It could be, or not buyers and sellers, it could be also owners and renters. You could do this with buyers and sellers for selling real estate and buying real estate. Really big commissions for that one. A little bit longer sales process, takes definitely a lot more work to do a sale compared to a lease in most cases. But at the same time, with a lease, they might not be as high of a dollar value for what it is that you're getting paid, but they're a lot easier to get done. So you could broker purchases of real estate as well as leases of real estate and get paid for either or. Now, in order to get paid, to be compensated for this, that's what you need a real estate license for. Now, if you want to buy and sell your own real estate, you don't need a real estate license to do that. However, the real estate license is going to help you in a lot of ways for buying and selling your own real estate, saving having to pay commission to a listing agent, because you'd be able to list it yourself. And we'll run down these numbers a little bit more, but let's say the commission you might pay a listing agent was 3%. Well, if you're listing this yourself and you don't have to pay that 3%, or whatever amount it is you negotiate with a listing agent, let's just call it 3%. So let's say that 3% you would have paid to a listing agent, you keep it for yourself. 3% is a huge number when it comes to return on investment. Getting a 3% return alone beats a lot of investments, let alone just tacking on an extra 3% to whatever it is that you're already doing to profit on a real estate investment. So again, it's not required, but you're going to be a lot more knowledgeable with a real estate license, and you'll have a lot more tools at your disposal, whether that's the MLS, whether that's the ability to put properties in the MLS yourself and not having to hire people to do this. So a lot of benefits. Again, it's not required to buy and sell your own real estate, but getting back to where it is required, if you want to help others buy and sell real estate, maybe you want to become an investor, maybe someday you aspire to be an investor of real estate, to own multiple investment properties, to have tenants, to do whatever it is that you want to do with investment real estate, but you don't have money right now to invest. There's maybe some ways you could kind of finagle a no money down type of deal, but the no money down deals they're a lot harder to do compared to when you do have money down. And when you have the knowledge and experience to be able to figure out how to do a no money down loan, you probably have money to put down. It's kind of the paradox of all that right there. But Point being, if you want to invest in real estate, but you do not have the capital, the funds, the money to invest in real estate, you don't have $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 cash laying around, or however much you need for whatever that investment project it is that you're looking at, you could get a real estate license and broker deals on behalf of others and start to understand real estate at a deeper level and also through the eyes of other buyers and sellers. Or if you're looking to become an investor, that's really where you'd want to probably focus on brokering investment deals. So you get to learn real estate investment again right there from the passenger seat of other people's investment deals. So again, getting back to what we do. So brokerage is what we do. We bring together typically whether it's the buyer and the seller, we're bringing them together. Or maybe this is a renter and a landlord, maybe bringing them together. Let's talk briefly about how the payments would typically work, the compensation. And now this is going to vary based on the individual property and the individual deal here, but with a buyer and seller, it's usually a percentage of the sale price. Overall, it might be somewhere like 5 to 7%. This is an amount that gets negotiated with the seller typically. This gets negotiated with the seller. And this 5 to 7%, if you represent both sides, you get the 5 to 7%. But if you cooperate with another agent, let's say another agent comes along with the buyer, you list the property for sale, but then another agent's like, hey, my buyer wants to buy this property, and that's what ends up happening. You represent the seller, and another agent represents a buyer. In that case, this is typically split 50-50. So if that were 6%, this would be, we'll call it that. We'll use that for our example here, 6%. That means 3% goes to the buyer's side and 3% goes to the seller's side. And that's just a percentage of whatever the price of the property sells for. And that's how it's typically done. Again, depending on the specific agreement and transaction and property and what gets negotiated, this might vary, but this is a great example of something very common that you'd find out there for how probably 99% of transactions are somewhere in this range, and this is how it's split up. Now for leases, the way this typically works is this ranges from a flat rate fee, a flat fee, I would say all the way up to, and this is typically where you're just representing the tenant. So if you're being what's called a rental agent is where you represent a potential tenant and you take this tenant around, this person, you take them to multiple properties. You maybe take them to some different communities. You let them tour these different communities. They look at it. They figure out which one it is that they like. And since you brought them into this community, a lot of these apartment communities have some sort of deal arranged where if a real estate agent will bring them a potential tenant, that they'll pay you maybe some flat fee, or maybe this goes all the way to who knows, a 1, 2, or 3 months rent. So some variation of that. This obviously probably being on the higher side, because if you're dealing with a property that's renting for, let's just say $2,000 a month, if you're getting paid 3 months worth of rent as a commission, well, that's a $6,000 commission. Those ones are a lot harder to come by than the 1, 2, or maybe half month's rent. That's more where it's common with this. But again, this is significantly less money typically compared to a sale, but here's a few reasons why this is a great starting point for a lot of agents. You want to keep in account what's going on in the market as well. For like the past decade, we've had like record levels of renting versus home ownership, where a lot of people would prefer to rent. And I think last couple of years that trickled down a little bit, but we're still at a very high percentage of renters. So there's a lot of people that are interested in renting property as opposed to owning property. And maybe that's because they're not ready to commit to buying their own home yet, or maybe they might be relocating. Who knows what reason it might be. But that person renting, not only is this going to be a quicker transaction, it's usually a lot less time intensive to get through this compared to this, and you're also working with the leasing agents at these apartment communities to help them basically go through this process. So it's really like you've got this expert on the community here, and you're just along for the ride to just smile and and answer whatever questions your client might have for you specifically. So this is pretty easy to do, but then the other thing you want to keep in mind with this is this person probably is not going to be a renter forever. Very rarely is somebody a renter forever. I don't have the exact statistics on it, but a lot of times when people are renting, it might be at the end of that 1-year lease. They might go sign a 1-year lease, and then at the end of the 1 year, they're looking to buy. They might be thinking about buying right now when they're leasing it, but they're just not sure yet, whether they're not sure on the area, whether they're not sure on the market, whether they're not sure on whatever it is that they're unsure about. They might want to rent now, but again, you got to remember that doesn't mean they're always going to be a renter. So they might turn around the time of their lease being up, or maybe even before their lease is up. Maybe 6 months into it, they're really not enjoying being a tenant and they're ready to finally make that jump into home ownership. So that's why it's really important for you to follow up with clients if you're working with rental clients, because these rental clients can turn into purchase clients with a lot higher commission levels. But there's tons of money to be made out there, whether it's renting, whether it's leasing, and that goes on for any time, any market. It's just you have to know where to look to find the clients. So let's get into this, into the sales side of things. The rental side, it's relatively easy. That you might find this usually where you go to look to find out where all the properties are that have an agreement where you automatically get paid, basically, if you're representing the buyer or the tenant, whether it's a sale or whether it's renting. You go in the MLS. So the MLS, the multiple listing service, this was designed to be a cooperative system between real estate brokers that allow everybody that's a member of the Association of Realtors or that has access to the MLS to be able to search properties that are available where there's already a pre-negotiated commission for you. And you'll find that in every listing in the MLS what that pre-negotiated commission is. Where your client doesn't have to pay you a commission, it's already pre-negotiated by the seller or the landlord of the property. So if this is a rental, that's you'll typically find that in the MLS. Even if it's not in the MLS, they might still be willing to pay you a commission. You'd want to make sure you get a commission agreement signed for that. Consult your broker in the real world for using a commission agreement or what document they would want you to use for that. But basically, once you have an agreement, whether it's already made through the MLS or you seek out an agreement directly with that apartment community to be able to bring them tenants and they pay you money, then it's typically just 30 days after they have signed the lease, after they've moved in. And it varies based on the community, but what's typically is 30 days after they've moved in, then you end up getting paid whatever your commission is. You send them an invoice. Real simple to do. And then the other side of that, the landlord side, we didn't talk about that too much, but that's also another way to use your real estate license to make money is you could do property management. Now, if you have your own properties, if you are the owner of the properties, you don't need a license to manage your own properties. However, if you want to manage properties of other owners on behalf of them, for compensation, that's where you would need a real estate license in order to do that. So that property management, that might be anywhere. It depends on what you negotiate. Maybe 8% to 12% of whatever the rent is. That might vary in your market. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's less than that. But somewhere in that range, which for one property usually isn't a lot of money. If it's 10% of $1,000 in rent, well, that's only $100 a month. You can't really live on that. But with property management, it's more about managing 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 properties rather than just one here. So you can make money with leasing as well as the sales. But what I want to look at right now is the sales side of things, because this is where the bigger paydays ultimately are. So again, walking through this process. So let's say you wanted to go out there and let's say you're brand new to real estate. You're brand new to real estate and you don't have a single client yet. So you've got two options to track down some clients. Maybe some buyer clients, maybe some seller clients. And what happens a lot of times when agents are starting out is they're just trying to take whatever it is that they could get. And if something falls in your lap, don't turn that away, especially when you're looking for business. But I would highly recommend that you develop some sort of plan to go after business. Don't wait for business to come to you. Don't wait for business to fall into your lap. Develop a plan to go after business. And there's a lot of different methods that you have available for this. The more direct methods that involve you, whether that's cold calling people, maybe door knocking isn't advised right now because people probably don't want to open the door to some stranger with everything going on in the world right now. So maybe that's something that works normally. Open houses are another thing that's kind of on hold right now too, but what agents are doing is doing the stuff virtually. They're utilizing the technology that exists to be able to showcase properties virtually. To whether that's a video tour of the property, maybe you're doing a live stream open house of the property, you're not taking anybody there in person, but you're showcasing the property via live stream. I mean, Facebook Live is a great tool for this. You could literally pull it out right on your phone, walk around, and people could chat, ask you questions about the property. You could walk them around, show it. If you're not using that to showcase your listings that you have right now, you should be doing that. But that should be something you're doing in any market, because you could reach a lot more people through the phone than you would get people into your open house. So this is a tactic right now. If you're able to adapt to be able to do business right now, when things go back to normal, your business is going to skyrocket because you've now got a new set of tools that were available before, but maybe you didn't know how to use them as well. But real estate right now, it's forcing you to learn how to use these tools, and what you're going to realize is these tools allow you to scale your business a lot farther. So all these virtual things, they allow people to look at this property 24/7. You shouldn't just have photos of a property. It's 2020. We're supposed to have flying cars right now, and people can't even get virtual tours of real estate. So get a virtual tour, get a video, get something of the properties if you're working with sellers and listings. So again, thinking of your plan to go after this business. Now, you might have some business fall in your lap. Maybe one of your friends or family members knows you just got a real estate license and they refer you somebody, or they need a real estate agent, or whatever it is. But do not count on the things to just fall in your lap, because then you're just sitting there waiting. You're waiting for success to happen to you. Success doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. So you've got to go make it happen, and you've got to develop an intentional plan to get clients. And now sellers, this is the whole point of me just kind of talking about this whole virtual thing. There might be people right now that might not just want to sell their home, but need to sell their home. Maybe it's somebody that's lost their job. Or maybe, and this is why real estate is considered an essential service. If you look it up from the Department of Homeland Security, real estate is considered an essential service because, maybe there's I saw a post about this. I can't remember who it was that posted this, but somebody was talking about, what about the mother whose husband died in a car accident the night before, and now they need to sell their home because they can't afford the payment, and blah, 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 blah. That's why we're an essential service, because there are times where, a lot of times people just, it's convenient that we're available for their services. Yes, they're thinking about selling out, but then at the same time, you've got people that need to sell immediately. And that goes on anytime, not just when there's crises, but anytime. There's always going to be people that might have a crisis going on in their own life. That's not a worldwide or global crisis, but they've got their own crisis going on, and they need to sell a property. And we're able to help them, and depending on their needs, if they're needing to sell quickly, if they need to get out of there as quickly as possible, we can help them sell as quickly as possible. Now, that's typically going to involve a lower price point to be able to get it sold as quickly as possible, because that's one thing that's always true. The lower the price goes, the faster the property will sell. Or maybe they do have some time. Maybe they are willing to put it on the market. Maybe the person hasn't lost their job, or nobody's died, but maybe they're in fear of losing their job and they want to get their property sold because they're already having trouble affording it. So maybe they want to sell now so that way they could get things all in order right now. Maybe they want to take advantage of low interest rates. Who knows what's going on, why they need to sell, but they might need to sell. And you've got to take into account not just what's going on right now, but all the ways in any situation, in any market, how you could stand out to sellers. Because when you're trying to go after business, you've got to have that reason why they are going to use you. What is it about you? Is it because of the relationship you have with them? Because that's really powerful. You have a relationship with somebody, it really doesn't matter how good your product or service is. People are more likely to use you because of the relationship they have with you, because they trust you. There might be somebody with a better product or service than you. There might be better realtors out there. There might be people that are more skilled than you, but people may still want to use you over these other people who might be better because of the relationship that they have with you, because they know you, because they trust you. And so maybe that's the reason why. If you're talking to your sphere of influence, so you might have friends, family, co-workers that might be able to refer you business if they don't need your business, your services themselves. If they don't need it themselves, they might be able to refer you out to somebody. And that's in those situations, that's where you're banking on the relationship that you have, because that's the only reason they would use you or they'd refer you, is because they have a relationship with you. But let's say you're going out into a cold audience. You're going out to people to try to reach people that you've never met before. Whether that's because you're hosting a live stream of a property or maybe spending some money to advertise online or whatever the case may be, and you've got new people that want to know about, okay, if I'm thinking about selling, why should I use John Chrismo? Why should I use whoever if I'm thinking about selling? And that's where you have your value propositions. Maybe that's because you have virtual options. Maybe because you use a professional photographer. You don't just use your iPhone camera. Maybe because you're going to boost the property through whatever means possible, whatever tools you have at your disposal to increase the exposure of the property. And again, having this value proposition, this pitch, whatever it is that you want to call it, of why a seller would want to use you. And then you could develop your marketing strategy around delivering that message. Hey, this is how I'm able to best serve you better than any other agents out there. You know, you might be worrying about being new to real estate, but here's a line that works really well if you present it confidently to your client. If they say, well, I mean, you're kind of new to real estate, I kind of wanted to go with somebody more experienced. Hey, I completely understand that. I mean, this is the biggest sale of your lifetime for talking to a seller, the biggest purchase of your lifetime for talking to a buyer. I completely understand that. But here's the promise I can make you. Now, I can't promise you that a more experienced agent isn't going to be busy and might not have time for you. But what I could promise you is that I will devote my full time and attention to you because I don't have 100 clients that I'm working with right now. So I could devote more energy and resources toward your property and your listing. So that's a huge thing it is that you could have at your disposal to be able to overcome that objection of, oh, you're new to real estate, I don't know if I want to use you. So it's all about having these different tools. And that's why, again, maybe just doing real estate part-time or on the side, that's just another tool you have in your belt. So if something happens that's outside of your control, maybe something happens to your company, to your job, whatever it may be, that you've got other things going on. Not having, the expression goes, the one that I've always heard is not having all of your eggs in one basket. If you've got one job and one source of income, then you've got all your eggs in one basket. If all your income comes from one source, what happens if that source gets compromised? What happens if your company goes out of business? What happens if you get laid off? What happens if you become sick and you're unable to work, or something happens where you can't do what you're doing? And again, something out of your control, something that you can't plan for, something unexpected. It's good to have other things. It's good to have other ways to make money. And real estate is a great thing it is that you could do on the side of it. And it's if you think of the things people need, number one, they need water. Number two, they need food. And number three, they need shelter. Now, water and food, that's a really competitive market that's also a high cost. That's why a lot of restaurants are struggling right now, is because margins on food, the profit, that's what margin is, the margin on food is extremely slim in normal situations, and then you tack on delivery fees and people trying to save money, and that really puts a squeeze on that situation. So the restaurant industry is gasping for air right now. And real estate, I'm not going to lie, real estate agents, there's a lot of real estate agents that had to figure out how to use technology, that have been avoiding technology, but now it's forced on them and they've got to figure it out. Or they're just going to lay down and say, nope, I'm not going to learn technology. I'm just going to wait till things go back to normal. I could go back to shaking people's hands and meeting people face to face. Hey, that works too. And if real estate is just your side thing and not your sole only source of income, you could do that. That's the benefit of having multiple sources of income. If something happens to one, it's not all of a sudden that you're just completely crashing and burning. You might slow down and might not make as much money until you could get things back in order. And so it gives you that peace of mind and that security when you have these other resources and tools available. And again, maybe that means that someday you're going to get into investing in real estate potentially. And so maybe you're taking some of this commission it is that you're earning, especially if you're just doing this on the side, then the commission is really just extra bonus money. Maybe you're setting that aside for your own real estate investment fund. Maybe not all of it, maybe just a portion of it even. But you set the money aside so that way then you can also become a real estate investor. And then maybe you still have what you're doing now. You have your real estate license that you're using on the side to sell some houses every so often, but then maybe you become a real estate investor too, and now you've got a third source of income. And the more sources of income it is you're able to pull in, the more secure you end up being. Let's just do some quick math on this. Let's say you sold a house for $300,000. This is around the average price in Hillsborough County. Last time I pulled the numbers on this is about $300,000. And it also makes easy math. I think it's like 333 was the number last time I pulled it, or somewhere around there. But we'll just take $300,000. So if this was a 6% commission that was negotiated on $300,000, that's going to end up being an $18,000 commission. Now you might be wondering, okay, well, when do I get paid? Do they pay me $18,000 up front? No, that is not the case. Now, you could potentially collect some money up front. I don't know of any real estate agents that do charge a retainer, but that could be something you could do if you're trying to collect money up front. You could charge a upfront retainer for your services. Again, I don't know agents that do that, but that is a possibility. Check out the buyer brokerage agreements. You could put something like that in there. But typically, in 99.9999999% of times, you don't get paid anything up front. You only get paid at closing. Once you go through this process, once you've gone through and closed on the property, then you get this $18,000. But we still got to split this up between the two sides here, and I want to talk a little bit more about this process, but first we've got to reset this camera, so we're going to take a quick break. Stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor, where we're talking about how to make money in real estate. How do you earn income in real estate? How do you get paid? And we've already talked a little about how you could make money with rental real estate. We talked about having multiple sources of income. We talked about doing real estate part-time. But now let's just get into the actual nitty-gritty of the math for calculating the commission on a sale. So if we had a property that, and what would happen here? Let's say that, again, you were going after the seller somehow. When I say going after, you're trying to reach them. You're trying to reach people that need to sell relatively soon or at some point, and then you're following up with them to stay in contact with them. There's a lot of ways to prospect and advertise to generate business, and we've got tons of episodes of Ask the Instructor and State of Real Estate on our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success. That's tampaschool.com/success. You can find all those videos on there and really start to get a better handle and understanding on real estate, how you make money, what you need to do to be successful, because we want to create more success stories here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. We want you to be successful with your career in real estate because that makes us look good. If we help you start a successful career in real estate, we want to be part of that process. So we're doing everything it is that we can to help you start a successful career in real estate. We've been doing that for years. That's why we have so many videos that we put out there, thousands of them, all at tampaschool.com/success. But anyways, enough of the pitch for the free videos, because again, these are all for free too. We're not selling you any of these videos. Everything on tampaschool.com/success, completely free. But anyways, So on this sale price of $300,000, let's say you approach somebody considering that they want to sell. You approach a seller. Maybe this is a neighbor, maybe this is somebody that messaged you on Facebook, maybe it's somebody who went on your website, maybe it's somebody who got a postcard from you, maybe it's somebody who saw an advertisement for you, whatever it is. They're interested in using you to sell their home. So you say, okay, great. Let's set up a time to meet. And you might maybe doing these meetings virtually now. And you're ultimately making a presentation to them of how you're going to get their home sold. You're finding out what's important to them, what are they most concerned with, do they need to sell it quickly, can they wait a little bit of time to try to sell it for more, what are they going to do if the property doesn't sell, is it an option for the property to not sell, getting an understanding of what's important to them, what their sense of urgency is, how soon it is that they need to sell, so that way we could provide the most customized experience for them. And so we ultimately make a presentation of how we're going to best serve their needs, and we negotiate a commission rate with them. So let's say we negotiate with them a 6% commission rate. Maybe that's 8%, maybe it's 10%. This range is just a range of what you typically might see, but you could negotiate any commission rate that you could convince them to pay. So if they are willing to pay you 10%, you could charge a 10% commission. So again, you negotiate some amount, let's call it 6%. Let's say you negotiate a 6% commission with that seller. So they agree to pay 6% of what the property sells for you listing and marketing the property for sale. Now, if you are the one who finds the buyer, and this is the benefit of you boosting that property and trying to get more exposure to the property, because when you do that, you could have you be the central focal point of contact, where if they want to find out more about this property because it's your advertisement, they've got to go through you. And there's a lot of things you could do to advertise it, whether it's postcards, whether you're using ads online, or whatever it is you might be doing. Look, people are on screens right now. People are on screens, whether that's their phone, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a computer. You can't go outside, you can't do much anything, but you could be on a screen. So people are on screens right now. There's a huge opportunity to get in front of them on these screens. And so maybe that's how they found you, and that's how you also find the buyer, because you're really good at getting in front of people on screens or in postcards or however it is that you find the buyer. So if you find the buyer, you get the whole 6%, you get the $18,000 just minus whatever your agreement is with your broker. There's an agreement you'd have with your broker, unless you're a broker yourself. If you're a broker yourself, you could operate independently, but until you have at least 2 years of experience and you've passed a broker licensing course, that you've got to be a sales associate working under a broker. And with that, you have some agreement to where you might pay a small fee out of this money, or maybe a percentage of the money, or some compensation agreement you have with the broker. And the broker's there to make sure that you're practicing real estate legally, help you get your business going, and there's all kinds of different things the brokers might have as a value proposition. That's why there's so many different brokers out there. But if you're in a 100% arrangement, where maybe they charge you, let's say, a $300 fee, if all you had here was a $300 fee from your broker, well, that's $17,700 you get in your pocket from this. Or maybe it's a commission split where, let's say, 10% goes to the broker. Well, 10% goes to the broker, that means $1,800 goes to the broker. Maybe it's 20% goes to the broker, that's $3,600 that goes to the broker. Maybe it's as much as 30 or maybe even 40% that goes to the broker. And you can do the math on that. And when it comes down to choosing a broker, and we've done episodes before of what types of questions and what to think about when you're choosing a broker, and I highly recommend taking post-licensing before you go join a brokerage, because you'll understand practicing real estate at a much deeper level after going through that post-licensing course. But ultimately, what you want to take into account is, what is the broker doing to earn whatever it is that they're charging? Now, if they're not charging much, don't expect much from the broker. If it's a very low fee or a very small commission split, there's probably not much that they provide you. And then for the ones that are larger fees and larger commission splits, they should be providing you a lot more. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they will provide you more, and that's why you do your due diligence, you interview these brokers, and you find out which one's going to be the best fit for your business. Now, chances are you're probably not going to get that $18,000. Now, it'd be really great if you do, and that does happen sometimes, where you get to double end, or you get both sides of the contract, and you get both sides of the commission. And again, the more it is that you advertise that property for sale, the more likely you'll be the one that finds the buyer. But what happens a lot of time when we put it in the MLS, this is where if you were working with a buyer, let's say you were the listing agent. You're the one who listed it, and let's say I've got a buyer. And I've actually maybe got multiple buyers, and maybe only one of my buyers is interested in this property, but I've got a buyer that is interested in this property. So I go look up your listing in the MLS. I look up the listing that you put in the MLS. And yes, you did get an agreement with the seller to pay a 6% commission. And again, what typically happens is I would go look in the MLS for my buyer. I'm looking for properties available for sale. And when I pull up your listing, I would see how much it is that I get paid. And it would say 3% or whatever the agreement is for that. And so I know that if my buyer wants to buy this property, that I'll be compensated according to what's in the MLS for that. And that's, again, the whole purpose of the MLS, is to have this cooperative system where there's already pre-negotiated commission splits. So what that means is then we'd split this. If this was a 50-50 split where we both got 3%, that means that we've got $9,000. So if you have your own listing, you have the potential to make $18,000 on the sale, or at least $9,000 if you get it sold. Again, minus whatever split you have with your broker. But let's say you're getting a buyer. And this is, for that, we'll come back to this, but let's say you're working with a buyer. Let's say you've got somebody that wants to buy real estate. Well, if you have any of your own listings, maybe are any of your listings a good fit for that buyer? And if they're not, that's okay. You could go in the MLS and see what other listings other agents have. You might not have any listings. There's a lot of agents out there that solely work just with buyers. Now, buyers typically take a little bit longer than working with a seller as far as amount of working hours you have to put in. But closing a sale contract with a seller from the point when you get it listed to ultimately when it closes, that could actually even be longer than what you might be working with a buyer, but just maybe a longer period of time, maybe not actual work that's longer. It takes significantly less time typically working with a seller. Maybe agents are investing a little bit more right now because they're maybe doing virtual tours and things like that. That does require additional work that you weren't probably do before. But now the virtual tours, these are taking over. And they're going to be here to stay. Even when things go back to normal, people are going to get used to using virtual tours and using them to be able to look around. And this will speed up the process of working with buyers. But anyways, so let's say you've got a buyer. You'd go through, maybe look through the MLS, and maybe you'd send them out some information. Maybe you've got a website that shows the MLS properties that are available for sale, and you've got some way to email that to them. If you don't have your own website, the MLS has that built in where you could email out potential properties that somebody might be interested in. They're looking through them. They're deciding which ones it is that they like, which ones they want to get more information on. Maybe they're checking out the virtual tours on the virtual tours that are available for these properties here. And then maybe they narrow down to some that they're more interested in. And depending on where you're located in the country right now, maybe you're going out on a showing with these people, or maybe you're not doing a actual face-to-face showing, but maybe you're doing a FaceTime showing where you're going there in the property for them to show them around and see if they do maybe want to make and this is something you do already. All this stuff virtually that people are having to figure out right now, this is all stuff that agents that worked with out-of-town buyers, out-of-state or out-of-town or out-of-country buyers that cannot be there physically, these tools have been available for years to be able to showcase property digitally. And again, once things are normal again, and we go back to being within 6 feet of each other and all that type of stuff, then we still have the in-person showings as well. But even when we can have these face-to-face interactions, you want to save the in-person showings for the properties that they're most serious about. Why? Well, that's going to take the most time to drive out to a property, to show them around the property, to drive to the next one. And if they could get a virtual tour as opposed to just pictures, they're going to get a better understanding of the feel of the property and if they really do want to see it in person or if they could pass on that one. So let's say you're with the buyer, you ultimately find the property that they want. I'm representing the buyer, you're representing the seller, we negotiate back and forth, and we eventually come to an agreement around $300,000. Well, in that case, you'd get the $9,000, I would get the other $9,000. We'd have our splits with our brokers individually for how much it is we get to walk away with. I'm a broker myself, so if you're a broker, you get to take away that whole thing minus just whatever expenses you might have had in marketing and selling this property. But this is just one sale. And let's say you're just doing real estate part-time on the weekends, on the evenings, whenever it is that you have free time, and that's when you're working on your real estate business. If you only sold one property, in a year, which that's absolutely possible even just as a part-time agent. You do not have to be a full-time agent to sell one property in a year. If you're a full-time agent and you only sell one property, you need to get a move on. You need to figure out what you're doing wrong or figure out what you need to do more of to sell more than one property a year. Because as a full-time agent, you should be doing at least one of these a month or at least every 2 months or maybe one a week. Again, real estate is what you make of it. If you only want to sell one property a year because this is just something you do on the side, because you've already got your regular income taken care of and this is something you do for fun or just to make some extra money, what would you do with an extra $9,000? Is there any chance that your current job that you're going to get a $9,000 bonus this year? Well, if you're not going to get a $9,000 bonus from your employer, why don't you give yourself a $9,000 bonus? You could do that with a real estate license. Now, again, it's just the question of how long this is going to take to get you a closing. The more it is that you find more sellers, you find more buyers, you become better trained and better educated, and you know how to perform your duties better and how to take advantage of the tools that are out there. Maybe you're not just closing one property. Maybe you're closing 2, maybe you're closing 3, and maybe you figured out a way to do that in your spare time while you're still doing something else. There's tons of people that we get that come to us that are firefighters, that are police officers, that are teachers, that love what they do and love the civil service it is that they provide. But unfortunately, these professions that we need to be able to function as a society won't make you rich. Even in some of the areas in the country where these people might be getting paid more than other parts of the country, you're still not going to be rich from that profession. You might be able to make a good living, but maybe you're getting a $9,000 bonus, but if you do that, that's probably not a regular occurrence. Or even if it is, even if you already get $9,000, $10,000, $20,000 bonuses, what's wrong with more money? What's wrong with more money? And you're probably watching this now and thinking about, do I want to get a real estate license? Is this something that interests me? Is this something it is that I could do? So if that's what you're thinking, you probably already do want more money. So that's not the question here. It's just the question of how do you go about doing this? And the first thing is you need to have a real estate license. Number one, you need to get your real estate license. We've got a whole step-by-step guide at licensefl.com. We've got classroom, live stream, or online courses because you cannot broker real estate without a real estate license. It's a third-degree felony. You go to jail for 5 years. You get a $5,000 fine per count if you practice real estate without a real estate license. So the license is required so you're legally compliant with the law, and then you'd have to join a broker. You would join a broker so that way the broker could oversee the things it is that you're doing, and that's what the Florida Real Estate Commission is most concerned with. But ultimately, you want to join a broker that's going to help you make money, that's going to provide you the tools, that's going to provide you the training, that's going to provide you the resources that you need to build the real estate business that you want. And that could just be a 1 closing a year business, or that could be a 100 closing a year business. It's the question of what do you want to build in real estate. And yeah, it's obviously going to take a lot longer, all things being the same, to close 100 deals in real estate compared to closing 1. But it's about making a plan about, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is what I need to do to execute that. We've done episodes of Ask the Instructor before on business planning. So if you haven't seen our business planning episodes yet, check that out on our Success Center. Again, that link is tampaschool.com/success. Just type in business planning in the search, and you'll find our interactive business plan calculator. We've done quite a few episodes on building out a business plan and setting up a plan to make money and really figuring out all of these details so that way you're informed of what you need to do once you've got this real estate license to actually get some closings. So now you know what potentially is on the table. You know how to do this math. If this were a $600,000 property, all these numbers would be double. That would be $36,000 in total commission, $18,000 per commission side. Now maybe $600,000, maybe the neighborhood it is that you live, they don't have $600,000 homes, but probably somewhere around you, maybe not too far, you could probably find a $600,000 home. Got tons of them here in Tampa. If this were a $900,000 property, an almost $1 million property, it's 3 times that number. And again, so on and so forth. You just take whatever this commission rate it is that you negotiate with them, whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20%. 6% is a good estimate I would say maybe you want to charge more, maybe you want to charge less. That's up to you. That's your business. Again, you get to negotiate these directly with your clients. So you figure out what commission rate it is that you charge, and then if you split that between the two sides, because you put in the MLS, most of the time, you'll end up splitting your commissions. Even if you are advertising and marketing the property, a lot of times most of the time, it's going to be another agent that brings the buyer, because there's thousands of agents out there, tens of thousands of agents out there throughout the state of Florida. Hundreds, I think there's like 300,000 people with a real estate license. Now, not all those licenses are active, not everybody uses the license, and so on and so forth, but there's tons of people out there that have a license, that have buyers that might be interested in your property. So most of the time, you end up splitting a commission, which is great because it usually gets sold faster than when you're having to find the buyer on your own. But the more it is that you do to market and advertise the property, the more likely you're going to find the buyer on your own, and you give yourself a raise. You double your payday from your investment of getting more exposure to the property, so that way you could drive the buyer directly to you rather than them going through another agent. And there's a lot, again, marketing you could do to do that. And not only will that increase your chances of doubling your commission on the sale, but it also helps gain exposure for your business. It helps show people that you're an active real estate professional. And even if this is just something you do on the weekends or evenings or whenever it is that you do it, this is why I'd recommend that you go after some sellers to get some listings, because then you have your own inventory. And when you have your own inventory, you could showcase that inventory and try to drive buyers to that inventory, and that's going to not only help you get buyers that maybe they want to buy that property, or maybe this property is good, but it's not quite what they're looking for. Oh, well, how about this property? It's not my listing, but I could go ahead and take you there and show you. Oh yeah, that sounds great. This is a great way to pick up buyers, because just because they don't want to buy your property doesn't mean that you can't provide services to them. That's what the MLS is for. The MLS gives you access to pretty much every property that's on the market, where you could show the property, where you could get further details on the property, where you've got all kinds of tools for estimating values and all kinds of things like that, all through the MLS. So it's a very powerful system. But again, if you could double your commission because you beat any other agents to finding a buyer, or maybe, again, everything you do to gain more exposure is going to not only help increase the purchase price, it's going to get the property sold faster, it's going to potentially increase your commission if you're the one that finds the buyer, but even if you don't, those first two things are still true, you're still getting more exposure, but it's also going to get exposure for your business, so people see, oh, you're not just talking about how good you are, you're showing us how good you are. Hey, look at this house I just listed. Look at this open house I've got here. Look at this one I just got under contract. Look at this one that just closed. Here's some people that moved into a house I sold them a year. Here's their 1-year update and how much it is that they're loving the house that they bought from me. Are you ready to make your next move? Call me today. Something like, you get creative with this. That's what's fun about real estate marketing, is you get creative. Just don't get too creative at first. Use something that's tried and true that you know will work, and then you start making your tweaks and getting creative and whatnot. So look, that's about all the time it is that we've got for today. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you have questions about the licensing process, or maybe you need to take post-licensing, if your post-licensing deadline was yesterday, for 2020, the March 31st deadline, they've extended it 30 days. So April 30th is now the new deadline. April 30th of 2020 is the deadline for post-licensing and continuing education if your deadline was previously yesterday. So if you need to get that done, you still have got time. Call us up, 813-333-2676. If you think about getting your broker license, because maybe you want to operate independently, same number, 813-333-2676. Again, if you want to check out those videos I kept referencing on our Success Center, that website again is tampaschool.com/success. We're here for you guys. We want to help you build a successful real estate career. Let us help you do that. Call us, check us out on the Success Center. But other than that, that's all for today. We'll be back on Friday with State of Real Estate to talk about masterminding to grow your real estate business. But other than that, I'll see you guys on Friday. Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success. Or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisma with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.